Hey everyone, my name is Anne and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making this Suzette stitch sweater vest. I will be making a small in this video, but this also includes sizes X small to 3X large, and there also is a pattern right below in the description box. But here are the supplies you'll be needing. So getting started on the bottom border, I have over here my white category 4 yarn, and here is my 5.5mm hook. We will begin this pattern with a slip knot, and you can do this any way you would like. After your slip knot, make a chain of 9, and to make a chain, yarn over, pull through, again, yarning over, pulling through until you have a total of 9 chains. After you have your 9 chains, we will begin row 1. So to begin row 1, skip this first chain, insert your hook into this second chain, we will single crochet. To single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that single crochet into the next chain as well. Insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now single crochet into each chain across. So just doing this one more time. Insert your hook into that next chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. After you have finished coming across your row with those single crochets, we will chain 1, turn your work around, and that chain 1 does not count as our first stitch. So moving on to row 2, we will back bar single crochet. So skip this first chain, insert your hook into this first stitch, we will back bar single crochet. To do that, insert your hook only into this back bar or back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Doing this back bar single crochet again, insert your hook only into this back bar, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert your hook into this back bar, pull through 2. Now continue to back bar single crochet into each stitch across your row until the end. After you've made it to the end with these back bar single crochets, chain 1, turn your work around, and again that chain 1 does not count as our first stitch. So now to continue this border, you want to repeat this row, which is row 2, until you have a total of 39 rows. But since this video includes sizes X small to 3X large, the amount of rows you'll be making for each size will be indicated right on the side here. But I will continue repeating row 2 until I have my 39 rows, and then I will meet you guys back when I'm all done. So I am back here with my 39 rows for my base, and I do have this one stitch unworked because into this last stitch we're going to be changing our color. So to change your color, I will insert my hook into this last stitch, yarn over, pull through. From here, grab your new color, yarn over with your new color, and then just pull through both loops. Just tighten everything up. So now you can cut your previous color, which I'll just do right here. And I'll just worry about weaving that in later. So now that we have our base all done, we're going to move on to working the front panel. So let's go ahead and begin on that. So moving on to our front panel, we're going to be working across the top edge over here with our new color. So we're going to first make a chain of 1, and that does not count as our first stitch. And into this first row, we will single crochet and double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into this first row, work 1 single crochet. Into this same stitch, we will do a double crochet, 2 double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we will skip the next row, and into the next row work a single crochet and a double crochet again. So insert your hook, work that single crochet. Into the same row work a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2. Doing the same thing, skip a row, into the next row, single crochet, double crochet. So now to continue this pattern, you want to skip a row, single crochet, double crochet, repeat this pattern all the way across until you have 2 rows remaining at the end. So I will repeat this pattern and then I'll see you guys back once I've made it to the opposite side. So I have just finished coming all the way down my row with our Suzette stitch, and I have these 2 rows remaining at the end. Into these last 2 rows, I will skip the second to last row, and into the last row, just work 1 single crochet, just like this. From here, chain 1, turn your work around. And now moving on to row 2, it is basically the same thing as we did as row 1. Skip the first chain, insert your hook into this first stitch, we will single crochet and double crochet. So into this first stitch, single crochet, into that same stitch, double crochet, skip the next stitch, into the next, single crochet, into that same stitch, double crochet, and now repeat this pattern, skipping a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, all the way across your row until you have 2 stitches remaining at the end, and then I'll see you guys back to work those last 2 stitches. Once you have made it down your row and you have these 2 stitches remaining at the end, skip the second to last stitch, and into the last stitch, work 1 single crochet, just like this, chain 1, turn your work around, and now to continue this pattern, you want to repeat this row, which is row 2 with our Suzette stitch, until you have a total of 18 rows. But once again, since this video includes sizes X small to 3X large, the amount of rows you'll be making for each size will be indicated somewhere on the screen. But I'm going to work up my 18 rows for my back panel, and then I'll see you guys back when I'm all done. So this is what my back panel is looking like after 18 rows. And now that we have the main section to our bodice, we're going to go ahead and get started for the decreases to our back panel. So let's go ahead and begin on that. So getting started on our back panel decreases, I've already chained and turned my work around. And now beginning into this first stitch, we will do our first half double crochet decrease. So do a half double crochet decrease, yarn over, insert your hook into this first stitch, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. And now we're going to do another half double crochet decrease for these next 2 stitches. So again, yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 4, into the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. So that was the single crochet. Here's the double crochet. Skip the next stitch and single crochet, double crochet. Now repeat your regular Suzette stitch pattern across your row until you have 6 stitches at the end remaining. So I will go across my row and then I will meet you back once I have reached this point over here. So as you can see, I have 6 stitches remaining at the end of this row. We did 2 decreases on this side. Now we're going to do 2 more decreases. But first, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Now you should have 4 stitches remaining. Into the next 2 stitches, do a half double crochet decrease. Into the last 2 stitches, do another half double crochet decrease. Chain 1, turn your work around. And now to continue this pattern, you want to repeat this decrease row until you have a total of 3 rows, which is just 2 more rows. So I'm going to work up those 3 decrease rows, then I'll see you guys back for the next steps. So I have made a back here with my 3 decrease rows. You can see that it kind of came in over here. So now moving on to the 4th row, it is really easy. We're just going to do our regular Suzette stitch pattern. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work around, and now beginning into this first stitch, single crochet and double crochet. Skip the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. And now repeat this stitch pattern until you have made it 2 stitches from the end. Once you have 2 stitches at the end of your row, skip the second to last stitch and single crochet into this last stitch. From here, chain 1 and turn your work around. Now to continue this pattern, you want to repeat this row, which is row 4 for our Suzette stitch, until you have a total of 24 rows. So I'm going to work up 23 more rows and then I will see you guys back for the next steps. So I have made it back here with my 24 rows. And once you reach the end, you can cut and fasten off. And then just pull your yarn through. So just yarn over and pull through to fasten off. Now this is the end of our back panel. We're going to set our back panel aside and then we're going to move on to working on our front panel. So let's go ahead and get started on those steps. So getting started on our front panel, it is very similar to what we did for the back panel. So what I did over here is that I repeated all the steps that we did for our back panel, except I ended on row 12. So I did those 39 rows for our bottom border, then I did those 18 rows, those 3 rows of decreases, and then instead of doing 24 rows, I stopped on row 12. And we will not cut and fasten off here. We're actually going to continue on to doing the shoulder strap or the neckline for our front panel. So let's go ahead and begin on that. So beginning on the neckline for our front panel, I've already chained 1 and turned my work around. And now beginning into this first stitch, we're going to work our Suzette pattern until you have 12 stitches in total, so you won't be going all the way across your row. So now that I have 12 stitches in total, skip the next stitch and then single crochet into the next stitch. So you should have 13 stitches in total. From here, chain 1 and turn your work around. So for row 2, we will do a decrease. So into this first stitch, a half double crochet decrease. Just like this, into the next stitch, single crochet, double crochet, skip the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. Now repeat your Suzette stitch all the way down your row until the end. Once you have 2 stitches remaining, skip the second to last stitch and then single crochet into the last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work around. Beginning on row 3 will be another decrease row. Starting into this first stitch, we will do our Suzette stitch until we have 3 stitches remaining at the end of this row. Once you have these 3 stitches at the end of your row, skip the next stitch and then half double crochet decrease into the last 2 stitches. Just like this, chain 1 and turn your work around. Now to continue this pattern, you want to repeat row 2 and row 3 with those 2 decrease rows until you have a total of 12 rows. So I will work up my 12 decrease rows and then I will see you guys back for the next steps. So I have made it back here with my 12 decrease rows. Once I reached the end, I did cut and fasten off. So now we're almost done with our front panel. We basically have to do the same thing that we did here, but on the opposite side. So to do that, I have my yarn with my 5.5mm hook. Make a slip knot. And now we're going to skip the first unworked stitch and insert our hook into the second stitch. From here, slip stitch to secure. So just yarn over, pull through everything, just like this. So you should have 1 stitch right in between. Now from here, chain 1 and turn your work around. Now beginning into this first stitch, we're going to do our Suzette stitch as you normally would until you have 2 stitches remaining at the end. Skip the next stitch and then single crochet into the last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work around. So for our first decrease row, beginning into this first stitch, we will do our regular Suzette stitch pattern until we have 4 stitches at the end remaining. Once you have these 4 stitches at the end of your row, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. Into the last 2 stitches, do a half double crochet decrease. Then chain 1 and turn your work around. So getting started on our 3rd row, which is another decrease row, into this first stitch we will half double crochet decrease. Then into the next stitch, single crochet. Into the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. And then work your regular Suzette stitch pattern until you have 2 stitches at the end of your row. skip the second to last stitch and then single crochet into the last stitch, chain 1, and turn your work around. Now you probably guessed it, you want to repeat row 2 and row 3, those 2 decrease rows, until you have a total of 12 rows, just as we did on the other side over here. So I'll work up my 12 decrease rows, and then I'm going to meet you guys back when I'm all done. So I am back here with my last 12 decrease rows, and I did cut and fasten off once I reach the end. So now that is the end of our front panel. This is what our front panel looks like as a whole. Now we're going to set this aside and we're going to get started to seaming our front and back panels together. So let's go ahead and jump onto those steps. So now we're going to begin seaming our back and front panels together. I have placed the back and front panels right on top of each other, making sure to line up all of the sides, as you can see. And now we're going to be seaming both sides over here, and then our 2 little shoulder straps over here as well. So I have a tapestry needle and some yarn. And what I'm going to do is insert my tapestry needle right into the corner of our work and through the back panel as well. Pull this straight through. And now we're going to be working the whip stitch all along the edge here. So I'm going to take my needle, come right back around, insert my hook into the next stitch, going through both panels and pulling straight through. Doing the same thing, coming right back around, going through the next 2 stitches and pulling through. Now just continue to whip stitch all the way down your edge until you reach this point, which is where your underarm section should begin. So I have finished coming all the way down my edge, and with this extra yarn you can just weave it into your work and then cut and fasten off. But that's pretty much all there is to the seaming. You just want to seam the edge on this side, then of course you want to do the same thing, the edge on the opposite side. Then the last thing you want to seam are the 2 shoulder straps that I have over here. So I'm going to seam all of that up, and then I will meet you guys back once I am all done for the next steps. So I have just finished up seaming all of my work. I did both sides and then both shoulder straps over here. And then once I was all done, I flipped my entire bodice inside out to hide all of our seams. So now that we have our main bodice section done, we're going to go ahead and get started on the border on the edge over here. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So moving on to the edging of our side, I have my yarn and I'm going to make a slip knot. From here, insert your hook into the seam of our armhole. I'm going to insert my hook and then slip stitch to secure. So yarn over, pull through everything to secure. From here, make a chain of 1. Now beginning into this first row, we will make single crochets into each row all the way around our armhole. So to show you what that looks like, into this first row, single crochet, then into this next row, single crochet, into the next row, single crochet, and then just keep on working 1 single crochet each row all the way around your armhole. Then I'm going to meet you back once I reach the end over here. Once you have finished these single crochets coming all the way around your armhole, we will slip stitch to secure this row, except we're also going to change our color. So into this first stitch, I will insert my hook. I will yarn over with my white yarn and then pull through both of these loops to change color. After you have changed color, go ahead and make a chain of 7. After you have your chain of 7, beginning on row 1, we will skip this first chain, and inserting our hook into the second chain, we will single crochet into each of these 6 chains down our row. Once you have finished these single crochets coming down your row, we will slip stitch up 2 on the side to join. So into this first stitch, slip stitch up 1, and then into the next side stitch as well, slip stitch up 2, and that should connect your row just like this. From here, turn your work around. Now moving on to row 2, starting into this first stitch, which will look like our third stitch, we will back bar single crochet into each stitch across. So insert your hook into this back bar, single crochet into the back bar, single crochet into each stitch. Once you reach the end, just chain 1 and turn your work around. Moving on to row 3, skip this first chain and inserting our hook into this first stitch, back bar single crochet into these 6 stitches. Once you reach the end, we're going to connect it the same way as we did for row 1. Slip stitch up 2 stitches on the side. So this is the first slip stitch, and then the second slip stitch, just like this, and that completes row 3. Now to continue our border, you want to repeat row 2 and row 3 with those back bar single crochet rows until you've worked into each stitch all the way around. But I'm going to work 2 more rows with you guys because that was a little bit weird. So turn your work around, and now beginning into this first stitch, back bar single crochet into each stitch across your row. Once you reach the end, just chain 1, turn your work around. Now beginning into this first stitch, or skipping this first chain, back bar single crochet into these 6 stitches. And once you reach the end, slip stitch up 2 on the side to connect. Just like this. So once again, all you want to do here is just repeat row 2 and row 3 with our border until you've worked all the way around your armhole. So I'm going to work this up and see you guys back soon. So I have just finished working all the way around my armhole with my border, repeating row 2 and row 3. Now this is what my work is looking like. From here, you can just cut and fasten off. Now just to finish up our side border, we have to seam these 2 edges together, of course. So to do that, I will flip my entire project inside out, and then using a tapestry needle, I will weave these 2 little ends together and then flip my project backside out. But I'm going to quickly seam up our 2 edges, and then I'll see you guys back when I'm all done. Alrighty guys, so I am back here with my work all seamed up, looking really good. I flipped my work backside out to hide all of our seams, and then once you completed one side, you of course want to do the same thing on the opposite armhole. But once you have both of our borders on the sides done, we will then begin on the borders for our top portion here. So let's go ahead and begin on that. So getting started on our top edge, I have my white yarn in my 5.5mm hook. I will make a slip knot. From here, make a chain of 2. Now for row 1, skip this first chain and inserting your hook into the second chain, work 2 single crochets. I'm going to insert my hook into this second chain. That is the first single crochet. Into that same chain, 2 single crochets. From here, chain 1, turn your work around. Moving on to row 2, into this first stitch, we're going to do a back bar single crochet increase. So I'm going to insert my hook into the back bar, work a back bar single crochet. Into that same stitch, work another back bar single crochet, then back bar single crochet into this last stitch. From here, chain 1 and turn your work around. For row 3, back bar single crochet into 2 stitches. That's 1, into the next stitch, 2. Into this last stitch, do a back bar single crochet increase. So I'm going to work 2 in here. That's 1, into that same stitch, 2. Chain 1, turn your work. For row 4, increase into the first stitch. And then back bar single crochet into the next 3 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your work around. And now this is going to be our last increase row. We will back bar single crochet into these 4 stitches and then increase into the last stitch. And then into this last stitch, work 2 back bar single crochets. So you should have a total of 6 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work around. Now for row 6, beginning into this first stitch, all we're going to do is just back bar single crochet into these 6 stitches, doing nothing fancy, no increases or anything, just working into these 6 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work around. So now you just want to repeat this row, which is row 6, that regular row, until you have a total of 60 rows. So I'm going to work up my 60 rows with these back bar single crochets. Then I'll see you guys back soon. So this is what my 60 rows is looking like in total. This is where we did the increases, and then this is what the 60 rows in total looks like. So now we're almost done with our collar. We're going to do some decreases just to finish this up, and I'm going to do those rows with you guys. So from here, chain 1, turn your work around. Into this first stitch, we will back bar single crochet decrease. So insert your hook into that back bar, pull up a loop. Into the next back bar, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and then just back bar single crochet into each stitch until you reach the end. From this point, chain 1 and turn your work. Beginning into this first stitch, back bar single crochet until 2 stitches remain. Into these last 2 stitches, back bar single crochet decrease. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, into the next back bar, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, chain 1, turn your work around. For our next row, into this first stitch, decrease again, and back bar single crochet into the next 2 stitches, chain 1, turn your work around. Into this first stitch, back bar single crochet. Into these next 2 stitches, back bar single crochet decrease, chain 1, turn your work. Now you should have 2 stitches remaining. Into these last 2 stitches, just do 1 back bar single crochet decrease, just like this, and that is the end of our collar. So now you want to cut and fasten off, except remember leaving a long tail because we're going to be using that to seam around our base. And simply fasten off. So now to seam our collar to our base, it is pretty straightforward. You just want to wrap it around evenly. And then making sure these two edges connect just like this. And then you want to whip stitch all the way around the base and into the middle here to connect the collar to our base. But first you want to flip your project inside out so that the seaming will be on the inside once we're done. But that is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use this tail, seam all the way around using a tapestry needle, and then I'm going to meet you guys back when I am all done and I will show you the end of our project. So this is what my collar is looking like once I have seamed it to my bodice. Looks really good. And yeah, that is actually the end of the tutorial. The last thing you need to do is just weave in all of your loose ends using a tapestry needle. But yeah, that is the end of our project. I hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. And I'll see you guys back next time. Bye! If you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content. If you bought this pattern, it would be super helpful if you left a positive review under my Etsy shop. But yeah, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys later.